But I want to stay in the jobs theme because our next guest doesn't buy much of the employment data that is coming out of Washington right now. He is Bill King, and he joins us now. He's author of the Daily King Report, and he's also a market strategist at Ramsey King Securities outside of the Windy City. And Bill, good to have you back on the program.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so overall, and I've been reading your reports pretty much every day, you'd say that even some of the data that we've seen coming out from the BLS, you would even go so far as to say some of that is fraudulent because you make that claim when you're looking at other pieces of data coming out from the government.
Well, yeah, not only the government data is contradictory, but you see in private surveys that they're seeing much bigger job losses. But the key data is the IRS data. That's what the BLS will look back and make these adjustments. And we've watched them over the last few years make large, several 100,000 adjustments to the job lower. And that's because the tax data is lower. And it doesn't matter if you're looking at state, municipal, or the federal income tax, it's substantially lower than it was a year ago. And a year ago, we were in a very severe recession. So when you see the jobs number come out.
But could it be possible, Bill, as I was reading through your report, particularly on Monday, right after the jobs number, could it be possible that people are coming back to work in greater numbers, which is why you're seeing the trend go up, but that they're just taking lower paying jobs, which may be why you're seeing tax revenues go down? I don't know.
Well, you can't say people are coming back to work because the numbers are still negative.
But they're not as negative is the point.
Yeah, but there's 2 points on that. One is mathematically, as you keep pouring water out of a jug, you're going to get less to pour out. That's why you're looking at jobless claims and people go, oh, that's great because they're going lower. Well, no, it's not great because you're emptying the bathtub, and you have, just by mathematical reality and the reality of physics, you've got less to pour out of the jug. The second problem is, if you look at the BLS report, they're talking temporary workers are only 52,000. So a lot of people are going, well, we're playing, for years we've had these low-paying gigs. Well, they're not showing up. Even the low-paying jobs aren't showing up in the numbers that warrant that. The other point is the contradictory data coming out of the government. If you look at the Q3 GDP, they're showing GDI, which people ignore when they shouldn't, gross domestic income up 2%. Well, how can you get gross domestic income up 2% when the tax revenue is down substantially? It just doesn't add up.
Okay, so all of these pieces of data overall for you don't jive. Then in your analysis, Bill, because we don't have a whole lot of time, but in your analysis, what then is the real jobs picture?
Well, I think you look more at the private data. You look at the ADP. You can look at trim tabs. These people are doing, they're doing more of a jobs count, doing less estimations. There's not as many adjustments. It's not politically motivated. My goodness, was it a month or two ago? We've had scandals all over with the amount of jobs that the government said were created with the stimulus.
But Bill, give us the numbers, though. Give us what you think is actually the real employment picture right now.
I have no idea. I can't count the jobs, but I can look at the tax revenue. The tax revenue is down over 8% year over year for November. So, we're losing income, we're losing jobs, and that's all that matters. That's the stuff that goes in people's pockets. That's what goes into the Treasury coffers. Those are the real numbers. And in the first week of January with the December employment report, you're going to get a benchmark revision from the BLS. So it'll be interesting to see what they changed their job picture for 2009 on.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see that. That's only going to be in a couple of months then, Bill, and we'll have you back on then. Thanks so much, Bill King of Ramsey Securities.